with these champions.
That's why every team bans it.
And you know, with that in mind, you know, they have, you know, the biggest reason I mention this is because they played the Gangplank, which is considered a good matchup into Shen. The Gangplank ult more useful than the Shen ultimate, and if you have that prepared and you want to play it, why are you banning Shen?
Yeah, so again, like Irelia being banned, you want to contest Gnar, Odoamne likes it, Expect likes it, so maybe you can see a first pick Gnar, you would have like, some ideas behind it. But I'm not sure about what is the priority right now of H2K. Like they can also go for a jungle pick, they can also go for the AD carry pick, and of course the Karma pick.
And Karma is locked in. So how does this now affect, like, would you expect Mithy to be prioritizing the Bard here, or?
Yeah, it could. Otherwise, you can also go like for Nami, like instead of this, because usually most of the matchup in blue side, you often have the counter pick for the top laner, so you can get at least a matching bot lane on the red side, so that you counter pick top lane, and maybe you can play around it. And for the blue, like usually you pick Karma first, because this is so safe as a flex pick anyway, mid, but also like as a bot lane matchup, you just want Karma to say, okay, we get Karma, we're happy. And maybe Sivir gonna come into the run.
I feel like Sivir as a champion is strong, but the biggest reason why it's picked early very often is because you want to hide your cards, and she does fine into a lot of matchups, but there are still ways of dealing with her. Lucian is a prime example of how you deal with Sivir, Trundle is a prime example of how you deal with Sivir, and there are matchups that can do well into Sivir. So I think, you know, G2 are very, very happy with just hiding their AD carry pick for as long as possible.
How do you think the Caitlyn is going to be changed on this one? Because we're seeing an adaptation away now. We'd have Caitlyn Karma. Is that a lane that even synergizes particularly well in your estimation here?
I think it's pretty good. You know, you can poke, you can push. I think generally speaking, it's a strong lane. But the thing is, what I'm worried about is the fact that Jhin pops in, Ashe pops in, two very powerful champions if they get put in the proper matchup, and Caitlyn is the one.
Yeah, bottom lane wise though, we've heard a lot that Zven and mithy aren't afraid to even take a losing matchup even, and sometimes even opt into it. So it seems that they, on top of being really good, have a lot of freedom in this pick and ban.
Yeah, and Gnar is picked this time for G2, so they're just trading a little bit the draft. That's pretty funny. If there is like Sivir and Gragas on H2K side, would be just the reverse, which happens sometimes in practice. It screams because like it's not really, the draft is good overall, like it's decent, but it's just about how you play the game and how you put your priority on it.
Oh.
Oh.
And we are going
and Lissandra lock in.
All right, we talked about
basis.
Lissandra right before. I said like I liked Ryu and an aggressive champion, but now Caitlyn is open and Caitlyn is the best champion against Lissandra.
But Hecarim we also have to talk about.
I feel like the only reason they decide to opt in for the blind pick mid is because you can safely assume G2 are going to last rotate mid, but they have to reveal their AD carry. They have to reveal their AD carry in the rotation unless they want to last pick AD carry, which is very uncommon, but they have the possibility to do so because Azir is open, very good into Lissandra, so I'm not too happy with the Lissandra blind.
I'm not super happy with it blind, but maybe we've spoke about Ryu on the Lissandra, has that ability to maybe call a few more shots now, but out of the meta for a very, you know, long time in the summer split at least, not a you know, particularly well-picked champion. Looking at it, Azir was up, Vlad was up, these other picks that are potential picks just at the top of the meta.
Something that is worth mentioning though is the fact that Odoamne has played Lissandra top.
True.
And, you know, he might play it into the Gnar. It's a fine matchup to play. Gnar, it reminds me of the Rumble Gnar matchup, and it can be put into there. So maybe H2K are looking at Lissandra as a flex pick.
Yeah, we'll see what Prolly has in mind.
Here you should be careful because like if they get also an AP mid and an AP top, then Gnar will be like Malmortius or like Spirit Visage in a way, and then he can handle really well those matchups. I see like Sivir Tamcage being locked, Tamcage being obviously support, and I think this bot lane is really bad because Sivir power is always coming from laning phase, pressure, pushing the wave. That's why Karma and Nami, even Janna has very good with her. But when you get like tanky, like Sivir Tam or like Sivir Braum and something like that, you instantly surrender on bot lane and say, okay, we're gonna win other side of the map, but they already revealed the Gnar, so I hope Perkz has something in mind to counterpick the enemy mid.
I feel like in this case, Tahm Kench, they think of it as a Lissandra counter in team fights, but I have to agree with you. In terms of laning, it's very, very weak.
It is top, or it could be Vlad top, of course.
At this point, does this open up for like the likes of a Cassiopeia lane that we've seen a couple of times into the Vlad? Now you've got the added protection, something that scales, like a Rise perhaps?
Yeah, so it seems like Lissandra top though. And it's true because like if there is Lissandra, you expect it to be mid, and Ryu has been lacking this champion so far. But yeah, it comes into with the Odoamne idea, like when Irelia is banned, so you have no counter AD for Gnar, so then you go into Rumble, he liked it, now he goes for Lissandra, so yeah, Odoamne likes AP champion with Gnar.
I think it's important to mention as well, like the reason the Sivir and Tahm Kench get locked in because they know for a fact that H2K can pick a better bot lane matchup into them. They had to reveal AD carry, and with that in mind, you know, you just have to pick something that is going to impact the game as most as possible because you need to assume that you lose this lane. So I like the pickup, and of course we need to expect G2 to just play around top lane the entire game.
Or lane swap. Or lane swap around it, but if you... I would like, if I were H2K, I would expect G2 to look for the lane swap. So I would like think already that okay, they can be top. So either we match it, either like we invade them, either we trap them. But yeah, I think like this is a decent draft from both teams, and they can play around their strengths.
Yeah, we will see what happens. Very interesting choices from both teams. We'll be back after the game, but for now, it's over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Jocks. Once again, joined by Andrew Vedius Day here for our second game in this match of the week. Really interested to see exactly how this is going to unfold, as the coaches were talking about. Their lane swap could be pretty important. But while we have this brief break, guys, head on over to Twitter. Tweet at us at LOL Esports, hashtag H2K win, or hashtag G2 win. H2K fans coming out in force in the last vote. Maybe G2 can swing it back in their favor this time around. Vedius.
Yes, my friend.
We got a lot of interesting picks coming out on the side of H2K. What is your lane to watch here?
The Dank Kench lane. Simply because he's awesome. Anyway, no, he is a really cool lane. I like the fact that it was picked into the Lissandra because of the single target damage. But I think it's cool. I think this should be a good matchup.
You can hear the energy of the crowd. That means it's time, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2. How much blood will be spilled? The answer in last game was a lot. I'm hoping it's a similar answer this time around, as both teams leave their base and get geared up for the early game.
Blood for the blood god. You know, I was listening back on Warhammer quotes after we had that conversation.
Yes.
Chaos have some great ones.
That's really good. They are really crazy.
Just a tad.
It's a wonderful universe.
Full of bloodshed.
Yeah, it's actually like totally insane.
Yeah.
We got plenty of sanity in League of Legends too.
Yeah, we do.
We have essentially a river demon dressed up like a manatee that
With a bib.
that eats people, you know?
Not only through helping, but also through hurting. He's just like... I'm sure he was inspired on Lickitung. That's at least who he reminds me of.
Like how we're trying to swing it back to Pokemon.
I'm not trying to swing it back to it. I'm just being honest, Sifa.
I'm very aware of that right now, man. I mean,
He reminds me of a Lickitung. That's who I thought he was upon initial release.
I like giant angry catfish demon better personally.
All right, that's solid. But we are playing on 6.13, so no crazy rise stuff just yet. But he's still a pretty powerful pick. He's going to scale very well. Mid lane matchup should be an interesting one. Typically during the early laning phase, remember that Vlad would be known to have that advantage. But because of the recent nerf that did happen to him, he's not as potent as he was, but he can still push that rise around. He can still be aggressive. He has a lot of sustain available to him, utilizing that Crimson Rush.
See how that unfolds as we enter this lane swap. Mithy getting aggressive in here, spotting out the jungle. He's going to play the irritating support game as he follows them through on this clear path as we watch them trade. But the rest of G2 is here too. Looks like a little bit of a surprise. Mithy's going to nom this up. Looks like it could be first blood here. Jankos speeding away, but G2 grabbing one.
What a great way to start for G2. Not only did Mithy get a successful pressure off, but he was then followed up by Trick, followed up by Expect. Not your standard lane swap, and this is great to see G2 changing up convention.
Absolutely. I think taking advantage of the fact that so many teams just expect only the support to be there when you come in to harass early game to try to limit the jungle clear. Now they definitely have the tempo advantage. That's going to be absolutely massive for the team. Odo already burning his TP. Expect doesn't have to whatsoever. Not only that, G2 appear to be ahead in the lane swap as well, so I mean, great first blood for them.
You asked me who I was excited to see, and it was this Tahm Kench, and that play wouldn't have been allowed to happen if it weren't for the fact that he could gobble you up, spit you out near the rest of his team, and that resulted in a clean kill for G2. Not only that, remember that Jankos, he doesn't have flash. He did go for the ghost, so that invade was so much more likely to succeed. Really good understanding from G2, and really good execution overall.
Taking those variables into account, paying off for them in the end, as Expect takes one last tower shot before he's going to do his best to catch the wave and pick up the CS here. Odoamne mirroring him on the bottom side. And my question for you is, looking at this Tahm Kench, we saw it in the top lane yesterday a little bit, but now on the bottom lane support, do you think we're going to get the same sort of flanking opportunities coming in from his ult?
I feel like with Tahm Kench, in this comp specifically, his primary role should be to offer peel, largely because Jankos and Odo are going to do their damnedest to get onto the backline. But when you also consider that there's a Karma in the mix, he's going to help facilitate one of the big weaknesses that Vlad has, which is he has no innate gap closers. There's nothing in his toolkit to enable him to get onto those big damage dealers that G2 have. And so there's going to be so much on the side of H2K that is saying, hey, I'm going to run towards your backline, I'm going to do whatever I can to kill them as quickly as possible, and mithy's just going to be like, nah mate, I'm just going to gobble you up, my AD carry is going to be safe and sound, I'm going to walk him to an even further backline, a backline that you've never even seen before, and then he's just going to be free to deal all this damage, and then you're going to be overextended, and you're just going to get caught out by Expect, by Perkz, who just want you to walk into all of their big AoE damaging abilities.
Yeah, as we see the team collapse into the second phase of this lane swap, you can see the early aggression laid down onto Jankos is costing him a lot. He's struggling to contest this buff here. Trick going to steal it away. A 2-level advantage present in favor of the jungler for G2. This is massive, and it just has to be frustrating for Jankos.
And what I'm curious to see is whether or not G2 put any value on the Dragon, because they could right now rotate up, pick that Ocean Drake for themselves. Expect doesn't have the teleport, but it could be something that they look to try and give themselves a bit of an edge, especially if H2K go for the bounce, which it looks like they have decided to do. This is actually really good for the side of G2, because the only risk they would have had is note that H2K were a little bit faster on getting to the turret. If they'd used their numbers and used their tempo to push that minion wave towards G2's tier 2, then this Dragon would have been very detrimental to the side of G2. But they realized that the bounce was coming out from H2K. They realized what was going to go on throughout the rest of the map. And they said to themselves, okay, this should be a free and easy Drake that's not going to affect us in terms of tempo or affect any of our laners negative.
Great spot to be for G2, of course. These small tempo advantages starting to add up. Kill, really the only thing that's giving them any sort of gold advantage at this stage is the towers are evened up. But having that Ocean Drake is huge, and with the next spawn being an Infernal, we can expect there to be a lot of fighting around that objective.
The only caveat to that is both teams have somewhat scaling compositions. H2K will hit their spike a little bit earlier than G2, so if anyone's going to try and force a fight, it is likely to be them. And right now we are just seeing a continuation of the lane swap where you rotate your AD carry and supports to the lane that is pushing against you, so that you can get the shove on, push it towards the turret, have it push back in your favor. As Ryu taking a lot of damage.
Oh, Perkz doing so much, but he's out of mana. The saving grace for Ryu. The empowered Q going to heal so much back up. Doesn't want to risk using it against Perkz and getting caught out, but the Ocean Drake going to start regenning a little bit of that mana. Really oppressive lane case coming in for Perkz. Dash forward, ult comes out for Ryu. He's happy to just trade spells there. Perkz, of course, just about to get that flashback. And we look at the bottom side. Pressure continuing for H2K, but Trick is on the way down.
Immediately going to be scared away by Freeze roaming into the jungle. He's like, it's cool. I'm just making my presence known. And as you'll see Zven trying to do the same on the other side of the map. He has to be careful, though. He does have good vision in his half of the map, but now the rest of H2K are rotating around to the mid lane. And mithy has responded by saying, okay, I'm here to provide any support for Perkz if he should need it.
Of course, Perkz still relatively low on mana. The Rise Wave clear. Is it going to be enough to clear out for the tower? Odo making sure that they can keep this protected. Moving in onto Trick. Trick potentially overstaying is welcome. Jankos only level 5, though. No ultimate available to keep the CC together. And mithy just waiting over the wall. Gobble him up. Hit that note button right when it's needed.
So H2K will be able to secure their own blue buff. Big deal for Hecarim in particular, who can be quite mana intensive in the early game. Going to allow him to continue his power farming style. The Lightning Pony will do what he can to just charge on through the jungle, scale up nicely, and I wonder how he's going to decide to itemize. Personally, I'm not a fan of the Trinity Force Hecarim in the jungle. I think it's great for solo queue, and I think that if you get an early lead, it can quickly transition to this unstoppable onslaught of shadows that really no team has any answers for. But the thing with Trinity Force is that it's such a big gold commitment. It is such an expensive item. As a jungler, it means that you have to sacrifice all this early game pressure in order to just continue being a bit of a selfish player to get yourselves the item to enable you to do more damage. And I felt like going for something like the Iceborne Gauntlet, going more towards tanking utility and sticking onto the backline will be more beneficial when you already have so much damage available to you on the side of H2K.
Well, Jankos splitting a little bit in how he wants to do the build. Does have the challenging smite, a little bit more dueling potential here, but still opting for a tankier build path with the Cinderhulk thus far. Got to keep our eyes on if that Trinity Force is going to come out. But suddenly, two members of the G2 are moving in. Trick comes over the wall, looking for the knockup. Is going to hit two. Perkz is a little bit too far away to get this one started. May look to continue here, but G2 putting tons of pressure down. Odo backing off on the top side. TP's ready for him. H2K want to turn this. They have the pink ward for the flank.
This was smart from G2. They realized that H2K could have set up a big freeze there with the wave pushing towards them. Both Zven and mithy would have been in a very dangerous situation because they would have been on H2K's half of the map. Jankos could have looked for a potential ult. Odo could have come in for a potential flank. And so by sending Trick and Perkz to the bottom half of the map, they're enabled to shove that minion wave all the way underneath the turret. The wave will now bounce back, and that will allow both Zven and mithy to farm a little bit safer and then return the lane to normality. As I say that, they're continuing to go way past the danger zone, still in a bit of a tricky situation, but other than that, they're now just going to disengage. I think largely because of the vision they have, but have a look at Jankos posturing around the mid lane. Perkz goes aggressive.
Oh, moving forward, Perkz could be in trouble. Jankos coming in, onslaught of shadows, the flash out from Perkz. Going to take him to safety. H2K making aggressive moves in the mid. They now have the wave pressure. Perkz with no flash. It's a dangerous place to be. Vander descending. Sandra left alone to defend that tower. Trick on the way up. 4 members strong in the mid lane for H2K, but not enough power to dive out.
Ping's coming down onto mithy and Zven. mithy, he's walking straight into them.
TP coming in from G2. Maybe they're looking to turn this one back. He can eat up Jankos if he wants, trying to buy time. Odo throwing so much damage down. Thick skin coming in handy for G2. mithy, he won't drop. Yes, he will. Jankos getting the kill. Expect goes forward. Ultimate comes out. H2K starting to drop left and right. The culling. A fancy exit for Freeze, but nothing picked up.
So dangerous for G2. They realized that the collapse was coming out from H2K. They had the vision that they could TP on if they should need it. But the big problem there for G2 was the fact that Zven flashed out of there so early. He is one of the big damage dealers for the side of G2. Without him, things could have gone horribly wrong. But fortunately, Expect was in his Mega Gnar. Perkz was completely untouched, and that enabled G2 to come out on top. So have a look. G2, they just decide they want to go for this fight. Zven quickly realizes he could get collapsed on, goes to the flash over the wall, can't really offer anything, gets the heal down onto Expect, trying to help out mithy, but then because Expect gets that Mega Gnar, and because they kill the front line of H2K, it's easy to then dive onto the back line, get the kill down onto Karma. Doesn't even give Vander an opportunity to use that exhaust, and it results in a good number of kills going over to G2. But they've now had to go back. They've given control over the river to H2K, who are looking to set up for this live Infernal Drake.
A little bit of opportunity for them to get back some vision of their own, but they do not have the sweepers right now. You can see how lit up the bottom side of the map is in the favor of G2. Pink ward there to clear out what little vision H2K have into the opposing jungle. Big issues coming in for H2K in that last exchange, committing so much to kill the Tahm Kench. Now looking as Freeze pushes up the bottom lane. I mean, what is the next move for H2K here? They're definitely not out yet. The gold lead is not massive for G2, but they definitely have to play a little bit safer.
The problem is for G2 is the only completed item they have right now is the Cinder Hulk on Jankos and the Rod of Ages on Odo. And that means that G2, they are not afraid to try and force this play.
Perkz coming in, ready to start the fight, zoning out Odoamne. Knows he can win the 1v1. Expect on the side, managing that rage flawlessly. H2K, they're going to need to look for a clean engage here, but they're not. They have vision. Are they going to respect the flank coming in from Gnar? Defiance coming in. Boulder toss goes down. Jankos just wants to get this. Is he going to be able to ult through? Lowers the health bar. Not going to get it. G2 get it back. Ryu set to fall. Is going to use the pool to take it to safety, but mithy just going to eat him up. Snack for the Tahm Kench as they grab that kill. Moving forward, in comes the Abyssal Voyage, carrying them into the flank, but they're going to cancel in the end. Trick backing off, Freeze going off, but it's not enough. Prey Seeker and the Tongue sealing the deal on the 80 carry for H2K.
And mithy, he wants more. He's just going to give a quick cheeky lick to Vander as he walks away with a victory team fight. And while all that action was going on, Perkz gets a solo kill onto Odoamne. And now, 3 members strong from G2. They're looking to push down into this tier 2 turret.
Extending their goal lead to 4K, looking to make it 5 on the back of this turret. In one instant, G2 take complete control of the game. H2K overstepping in the Dragon Pit, and Perkz and the rest of G2 more than happy to punish them for it.
H2K had to make a decision. Do they force the fight, or do they just invest in the Dragon? And based on how Jankos plays, it does seem that they were a little bit indecisive. Because at this point, if you're just going for the steal, then allow Jankos to just go for it. Don't invest all 4 members, because we've already discussed how right now, G2, they have the item advantage. They have the overall team advantage at this point, because Freeze, he hasn't completed his Ghost Blade. Ryu hasn't even completed his Spectre's Cowl, and they still haven't. They are so far behind right now, this early on into the game. They're supposed to have a composition that spikes in the mid-game, but G2 with their very early advantage were more than confident enough to know that they would come out ahead in that fight. And with great execution, not only zoning away the big crowd control of Odo, they get themselves the Infernal, they get themselves a bunch of towers, and they've extended that gold lead so far.
Things looking so grim on the side of H2K. Odoamne only level 9. Expect matching him, so it won't be too big of an issue, but if he has to match up against Perkz again, it could be devastating. Rod of Age is the only item left to him. H2K, they're not giving up. Just like last game, they're still making aggressive moves, still fighting for vision, still fighting to trade objectives on the match. It just gets so difficult moving forward. Expect has Meganar, but is he going to get the opportunity to use it? Locked up, he knocks him into the wall. This could be the turn. Mithy on the way in. TP coming in for H2K. This is disastrous. Mithy just going to walk his way out of that one. Massive commitment of resources from H2K, but G2 are pushing in. They can break the base if they do not get the backs off in time. Moving forward, Mithy in trouble. He's going to flash out to safety. Freeze dashes forward. Thick Skin is still available. Expect with the BM, he's just going to laugh it off. He knows his team is taking down that inhibitor tower. Could the inhibitor fall too? It's only 15 minutes in. G2 extending their lead to 6K.
Unbelievable play coming out from G2. The collapse comes down onto Expect. He thinks that he's in some serious trouble, but then Mithy's there to save the day. He took Expect to the warm embraces of the back line. The H2K, they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know where it was. And then all of a sudden, G2, their whole goal was stop the backs. That enabled G2 to continue their pressure up in the top lane. They get themselves the tier 2, they get themselves the tier 3, and now they're going to get themselves a Rift Herald.
Absolutely happy to have that one. Looks like it's going to be given over to Trick in the end. A little bit more lethal in the hands of that jungler. 4-0 and 2, the scoreline for this guy. Nearly 100% kill participation. And an absolutely flawless performance thus far. Picks up the Aegis nonetheless. So Vlad and Lissandra not putting out a ton of damage at this point. Vlad only with the Spirit of Visage, Rod of Ages for Lissandra, and now it's being mitigated even more.
And remember that Vlad did have those nerfs, or not only to his Q, but the changes to his passive as well, which means that now it's sort of flip topsy-turvy. You gain more health, or it's complicated. But the point is, he does less damage right now, going for the early Spirit's Visage.
Absolutely.
Yes, he's tankier. He's very tanky, but he doesn't get as much AP as he used to, which means that at this point in the game, he is not as strong. And especially with the fact that Freeze only just now getting that Ghost Blade. They've missed their opportunity. This is the point at which they should be stronger, but G2, not only with the massive turret advantage, but the fact that they're working already on their second items, means that if H2K try to force a fight right now, then they're just doomed to fail.
Look at how terrifying Expect is too. This double AP composition. Expect just is not worried about this. He has to be careful for Jankos. Jumping over on the Vladimir. Has he overcommitted here? We'll have the ultimate available. Will turn Meganar. It's just going to push them back. Flash over the wall. Some style points, but while they're taking their time with Expect, G2 is once again somewhere else on the map taking a tower. H2K are falling apart.
This is just rinse and repeat for G2. It is exactly how they played in Game 1. Every time H2K try to force a play, even if they come out ahead, it is always G2 countering it with an objective somewhere on the map. They extend the number of towers taken to 7. That is every tier 1 gone, every tier 2 gone, and they've even taken the tier 3 in the top lane. Now Perkz looking for Freeze.
Flash out from Freeze, that could be massive in the next fight. The trade of summoner spells. Perkz doesn't mind though in the end. Not gonna be able to grab the kill there. Baron not even spawned yet. It's only 18 minutes into the game, and G2 have a 7K gold lead. They're backed up by an Infernal Dragon and an Ocean as well. H2K running out of options fast, and things are just looking grim for this lineup.
And look at all that vision in the bottom half of the map for G2. They know that the Mandrake is spawning. They know that if they pick this one up, then they're going to be able to take the next Baron almost immediately. And then it's basically just great control overall from the side of G2. They can just pick up that Drake for free. Expect can continue his pressure in the top. Ryu had to be sent,
What?
and now Jankos.
Used Ghost to try to attempt the top lane. I don't even know if they have the damage to kill Expect right now. He already has the Dead Man's Plate, the Hex Drinker, the Jarm's Fist, which is stacked up. And G2, they're just going to grab another objective. This is not good for H2K. They want to force something so bad, but it is not working out for them.
Very unfortunate right now for H2K. We wanted a bloodbath Sifa once more. Vladimir being that Bloodlord. We thought that he would deliver, but unfortunately all he's done is deliver his blood to the side of G2. 7-1 in kills, 8,000 gold lead, 7-3 in towers, and already those second items have been completed. And have a look at Perkz. His eyes are set on getting the blood of Odoamne.
Flash for Odoamne. Is he going to be able to make it out? Has to burn both the Glacial Path and the Flash in the end to make it to safety. But it's just a barrage of Death Brush across the map. H2K, I don't think they want this.
I don't think they want any of this right now. All they want is an opportunity to come back, and they
Oh,
found
they're
it.
looking for it. Mithy feared, and outside the fight, he's not going to be able to save Zven if the opportunity pops up, but he's regrouped with the team. Double TP is moving forward. Expect on the front lines. Vander going to go down. Trick, hungry for blood. In comes the Abyssal Voyage. Tongue Lick, where's he going to go? Flash forward. It's on to Freeze. Exhaust comes in. G2 are barreling through H2K. Ryu running for his life. There is simply too much damage.
And G2 with the 2-for-0 pick. Fantastic stuff. They immediately respond with the double teleport. They know that they have the damage to turn the fight in their favor, and H2K, they just went for a desperation play. They felt like they could catch G2 off guard. They could not kill Zven fast enough, and this is going to enable G2 to get themselves the Baron and solidify control over this game.
I think more than solidify with the 10k gold lead, but let's take one more look at how they did it.
Great ultimate from Trick to realize that a potential flank could come down onto Zven. He flashes out of the onslaught of shadows. Once H2K realize they failed their engage, they are immediately on the run. And then with the flash lick coming out from mithy, that's enough to slow down Freeze to enable the kill. And already G2 are pushing into the base.
Yeah, they broke that tower earlier. Now they're going to take the inhibitor for free. Meanwhile, the Gnar pushes in the mid lane, and H2K need to figure out what their options are because they're running out of time fast. 3 dragons, a Baron, 10k gold. We cannot say it enough. This is an insane performance coming in for G2. They are making this look effortless. Trick completely unconcerned with the opposition as he pushes up another wave. Jankos just hoping to get this red buff. Trick may have his sights set on it. A 3-level lead. A battle of smites. Jankos gets it in the end.
Shameful, Trick. You have a 3-level advantage. Your smite does a lot more damage, yet you gave it away. Perhaps it was just a consolidation. Is that the word? Red buff?
Consolation.
That's the word. That's the badger right there. And he's now
I like
back
how in
away.
this game where we have a 5-0 and 3 Rek'Sai who's been everywhere, has not died yet. You're like, how could he not smite that red
I mean,
buff?
shocking.
Unacceptable.
Benched. I mean, Trick has done phenomenally this game. Cannot deny that, but now he's in a 1v2.
He sees them and he doesn't care. There's more members on the way. Zven is ready. On the hunt is burned. Ryu and Jankos may have overstayed their welcome. Trick waiting on the knockup, but here comes Freeze. Here comes the rest of H2K. But no, G2 are ready for the flank. Keep your eyes on Expect. Moving forward, a great snare to stop the engage. Expect brings out the Emos. He knows who are the kings of this game, and he's not afraid to show it. G2 moving in to break another inhibitor tower. H2K, they can't even defend this. There's just not a lot left for them in this game. Bot lane inhibitor falls. Super minions will be there soon. Mid lane, the last option left for H2K if they want to defend.
G2 have been under much criticism recently as to their consistency and their overall performance, but I don't think anyone can dispute how well they have played this game and how they are likely going to close this one out. I don't know if H2K can stall things out the same way they did in game 1. 23 minutes, 2 inhibitors down, and Perkz.
Oh, wow, almost 2 shots Vander, but could Perkz go down in exchange? Mithy says no, eats him up, throws him out. Expect ready, jumps over the wall, has the flash available, throws down the boulder. Will he go for it? No, he doesn't have the flash anymore. He's going to back off. He's moving forward again. G2, they're hungry for more blood. They're going to break through the 3rd inhibitor.
G2 looking to try and close out this game. H2K are running out of options.
On
It
the
is
hunt,
on the hunt.
Burned, moving forward, towers set to fall. Ohm Wrecker going to be used to buy them a brief reprieve. And H2K members dropping left and right. They're not even gonna get a single kill back. Trick is still alive, Expect is still alive. Ryu drops, Jankos drops. H2K are losing this game, and G2 are showing us why they were the kings of Europe last season.
G2 Esports are going to take the 2-0 over H2K in such commanding fashion. And what a way to do it. mithy, really the underperformer here with 1 death.